Sometimes I feel like the game is speeding past me. That thought hit me hardest in a training session with my own staff. We were gathered in the office boardroom, a space I had walked into hundreds of times with confidence. But that day, the room didn't feel like mine. Laptops open, younger team members leaned forward, fingers flying across keys in a rhythm I couldn't follow. The quick tapping echoed like a language I hadn't learned, each shortcut and click proof that they were moving at a speed I hadn't caught up to. I sat with my own computer, slower, hesitant. Each time I reached for a key, I second-guessed it. When the software screen lit up with menus I didn't recognize, I froze. My palms felt clammy against the keyboard. I glanced around the room, trying to mask my pause with a smile. But inside, I felt exposed. The insecurity spread fast. The tapping of their keyboards became a soundtrack of relevance, each keystroke reminding me of what I didn't know. I imagined what they must see when they looked at me. Not the leader who had built this business, but the one falling behind, struggling to find the right button. The fear whispered cruelly, "Maybe you're done. Maybe the world has outpaced you." It wasn't just the software in front of me. It was the larger picture. The pace of change, the new tools, the shifting culture, the way the younger generation seemed to be born fluent in a world I had to study like a second language. And as I sat there, shoulders heavy, fingers hovering, I felt something I hadn't felt in years: irrelevant. The shame was subtle but sharp, a heat rising behind my eyes, a heaviness pressing into my chest. I tried to laugh it off when someone cracked a joke about old-school methods, but the laugh caught in my throat. I had walked into that training believing I was the one leading. I walked out wondering if I had already been replaced. Sometimes I wonder if the world still needs what I bring. The thought carried weight beyond that one meeting. It echoed into nights when I lay awake scrolling through industry updates, each headline reminding me of another skill I hadn't mastered yet, another tool I hadn't downloaded, another feature that younger colleagues would adopt faster than me. The root of the fear is layered. Part of it is the rapid pace of technology. New systems roll out, new platforms rise overnight, and the learning curve feels steeper with every version update. What took months to adjust to now changes in weeks. Part of it is the generational gap. I grew up proving myself through persistence, face-to-face negotiation, trust built in handshakes and eye contact. Now, some of that has been replaced with screens, clicks, and dashboards. My strengths feel muted in spaces where speed outruns depth. And then there's cultural pride. In my upbringing, being the expert mattered. Wisdom carried weight, and age was seen as authority. To not know, to have to ask, feels like betraying that expectation. The mirror questions hit me squarely. Do you ever feel too old to keep up? Yes. The moment the shortcuts fly faster than my eyes can follow, I feel it. The fear of being left behind. Do you worry your wisdom has an expiry date? Yes. I imagine a clock ticking, counting down the value of what I've learned, as if the world has decided there's a sell-by date stamped across my experience. The universal theme is clear: fear of irrelevance. And yet, wisdom offers a reframe. Tools change, wisdom doesn't. That line stops me, because beneath all the noise of updates and apps and shortcuts, it reminds me that tools are temporary. They shift and evolve, but the foundation they're built on, negotiation, human connection, resilience, patience, those don't expire. Still, knowing it in theory doesn't quiet the fear in practice. The symbolic cue lingers in my memory, that keyboard shortcut I couldn't find. Such a small thing, but it carried the weight of being outdated. It was more than a missed click. It was a mirror showing me my fear. And in that reflection, I found myself asking the question I hadn't wanted to say aloud. Does the world still need what I bring? That question cut deeper than any software tutorial. It wasn't about the tool. It was about my place in a world that seemed to be racing ahead. And in that space of doubt, I felt myself shrinking. The moment my younger colleagues solved the task in minutes, I forced a smile. I clapped their back, nodded at their brilliance. Outwardly, I was encouraged, but inside, something shattered. It wasn't the speed that broke me. It was the mirror it held up. I saw myself years ago, hungry and quick, learning faster than the generation before me. Back then, I thought my pace would never slow. But now, in this boardroom, I felt like the one being outpaced. The glow of the screen became unbearable. Each menu that opened with a single shortcut I didn't know felt like a reminder of my irrelevance. I heard the buzz of whispered side comments, maybe harmless, maybe praise, but my mind twisted them into pity. I leaned back in my chair, but it didn't give me relief. My shoulders slumped, my eyes dropped. I avoided asking questions because I didn't want to reveal how lost I felt. Pride silenced me. Fear chained me. The loop repeated, "You're outdated. You're replaceable. You're done." My collapsed gesture was subtle but telling. I folded into myself, avoiding eye contact, nodding along to things I barely understood. I stayed quiet, shrinking smaller with every passing second. And in that quiet, I imagined futures I didn't want to see. I saw myself phased out, replaced by someone quicker, cheaper, newer. I pictured my years of experience discarded like an outdated manual, once useful, now forgotten. That thought cut deepest. Maybe everything I've built is already irrelevant. I didn't just feel behind, I felt obsolete. A relic in a race I once believed I was winning. The turning point came days later, in a client negotiation that no software could fix. The room was tense from the start. Charts and graphs were projected onto a screen, numbers laid out neatly by my younger staff. They had mastered the tools, the visuals, the pitch. But when the client pushed back, raising their voice, questioning the deal, my team froze. The data couldn't speak for itself anymore. I stepped in, not quickly, not loudly, but steadily. I began by asking the client a question, not about numbers, but about their goals. I listened. I noticed the way their voice softened when they mentioned stability, the way their eyes narrowed when risk was on the table. I caught the nervous rhythm of their pen tapping against the desk. While my colleagues looked at spreadsheets, I looked at the person. Slowly, the conversation shifted. The client leaned back, arms uncrossing. Their tone eased. They felt heard. Within minutes, the tension dissolved, replaced with curiosity and even trust. By the end of that meeting, not only was the deal intact, it was stronger, built on something data couldn't measure: human connection. That was the symbolic moment. Not a glowing screen, but a whiteboard, my handwriting filling the space with key points, strategies, agreements. My experience, years of reading rooms, of failing and learning, of negotiating with patience, became the tool that turned the tide. And as I stood at that whiteboard, I saw my younger staff watching me differently. Their eyes weren't on the shortcuts now. They were on me. They were learning something they couldn't Google, couldn't shortcut their way to. Wisdom that only comes with time. That's when the reframed insight landed with force. Experience evolves. It doesn't expire. I wasn't outdated. I was evolving. The mantra rose in me, stronger with each breath. Adapt, teach, grow. I whispered it first, steadying myself. I said it again, louder, anchoring it in the room. And then I let it resonate in my chest until it became more than words. It became identity. I looked at my younger colleagues and saw not competition, but continuity. They brought tools I didn't. I brought wisdom they didn't. Together, we built something neither could build alone. The anchor statement settled deep. I'm not outdated. I'm evolving. And with that truth, the fear loosened its grip. I didn't need to match every shortcut. I didn't need to outrun the speed of change. I only needed to keep evolving, to keep bringing the one thing that no software could replace, the lessons carved into me by time. I'm not outdated. I'm evolving. That truth needs to be lived, not just spoken. For me, it started with something small, reverse mentoring. It felt awkward at first. I had always been the one teaching, guiding, leading. To turn the table and ask a younger team member to teach me felt like handing over the authority I'd spent years building. My pride resisted. The first time I tried, I nearly backed out. I stood by my office door, hand on the frame, debating whether to even ask. My heart beat faster than I expected. Why was this so hard? I had walked into million-dollar negotiations with steady confidence, yet here I was, afraid of asking a junior staff member to show me how to use a scheduling app. But I asked. My voice came out quieter than usual. They looked surprised, then smiled, eager to share. For them, it was second nature. For me, it felt like a wall I hadn't climbed before. As they explained, I caught myself fidgeting. My mind wanted to hide my ignorance, to pretend I was following along, but I forced myself to stay open. I let them guide me step by step. I even let them see me stumble, misclick, and start again. And something happened. They didn't see me as weak. They saw me as human. Their respect didn't fade, it grew. I wasn't the leader who knew everything. I was the leader who was willing to learn. That first session became the template. Each week, I chose one new tool, one new shortcut, one new way of working. I asked someone younger to teach me. At first, I felt clumsy. The mouse felt like a foreign object in my hand, my fingers slower on the keys. I heard myself muttering, I should know this by now. But then I remembered the mantra, I evolve. And I repeated it, inhale by inhale. Over time, something shifted. I began to notice the bond it created. The younger staff didn't see me as falling behind. They saw me as curious. They saw me as willing. And in turn, they grew more confident, more open to my mentoring in areas where I had strength. One day, a junior colleague showed me a shortcut that cut my workflow in half. I laughed out loud, a deep belly laugh I hadn't felt in weeks. Not because of the shortcut itself, but because I realized how much energy I had wasted resisting what could have helped me sooner. That moment stayed with me. The sound of my own laugh, echoing in the office, felt like a release, proof that evolution could be joyful, not shameful. The anchor action is clear now. Once a week, learn one new thing from someone younger. Not to keep up with everything, but to remind myself that adaptation is strength. The affirmation steadies me. I evolve. I say it with each breath. Sometimes I whisper it under my breath while someone explains. Sometimes I write it in the margin of my notes, circling it until it sticks. The grounding symbol I hold is the handshake. My hand extended, theirs meeting it, not as competitors, but as collaborators. That image keeps me steady when pride tempts me to shut down. And the reassurance is this: adaptation is proof of strength. Each time I lean into this ritual, I feel the fear soften. My shoulders don't slump. My chest doesn't tighten. Instead, I feel curiosity rising. Pride melts into humility, and humility turns into connection. This practice doesn't just make me sharper with tools, it makes me stronger with people. Because when I evolve alongside my team, I don't just stay relevant, I become irreplaceable in a deeper way. Even in this small step, I feel the weight shifting. The fear of being outdated loses its teeth, and in its place, I discovered something I thought I had lost: the joy of learning again. I'm not falling behind, I'm evolving forward. That's the mantra I hold as this week closes. At work, it means I no longer pretend to know what I don't. I admit gaps. I ask questions. And in return, I build stronger bridges with my team. They teach me tools, and I teach them wisdom. Together, we grow. At home, it means I don't carry the same fear of irrelevance. My family doesn't care if I know every shortcut. They care that I'm present, that I'm growing, that I'm willing to evolve instead of hiding in fear. In myself, it means I measure worth differently, not by speed, not by being the first to learn every tool, but by my willingness to stay in the game, to adapt, to share what time has taught me. Experience evolves. I'm not falling behind, I'm evolving forward. And I wonder, what's one thing you've learned from someone younger